If the part of your decluttering journey that you get stuck in is always when it comes down to sentimental items and you feel everything in your home is sentimental, it can be hard to make the progress that you want. So if every room takes you on a trip down memory lane, today's podcast is for you.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. What you'll find is that we try and find a fun factor in the serious business of decluttering. And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what we mean. So thank you so much for listening.
If you'd like to get involved in conversations relating to this podcast, it all takes place in our Facebook group. So come and join our lovely, warm, supportive community. To find the Facebook group, go to declutterhub.com/group to find out more, or you can search for the Declutter Hub community on Facebook.
Leslie, we're talking about sentimental items today, and I have a feeling that people all over the world, when listening to this, are going to go, don't touch my stuff, and they're like grabbing all this stuff around, and there's like, you can't declutter this from my house. This is important, and that's from my family, and that's a memory, and sentimental items is hard.
I think the problem is sometimes, Ingrid, with sentimental items is that it marks like a moment in time. So we go somewhere special, to a concert, or a child paints a picture, or it's the end of the school year with a child's book, or we get a t-shirt, whatever it is that makes that item sentimental. And we decide there and then that that is going to be sentimental. We put it into our designated sentimental items place, if we have such a thing, and we leave it there then for years, and we don't come back to it for ages. And then because it's found its way into the sentimental items area, we don't feel that that's up for debate in terms of standard decluttering. It's almost like this holy grail of kind of area that's never to be touched, never to be seen, and that it doesn't fulfill the same requirements as other things in our decluttering journey. But the truth is, most sentimental items don't actually serve any practical purpose. And so they really have to do their bit when it comes to sentimentality and invoking that warm, fuzzy feeling that we talk about inside. So I think it's so important. First of all, something has got to add value to your life. And obviously, if it's sentimental, it's going to be a different type of value that it brings, right? So I think what we wanted to do with this podcast, we want to talk about some of the things that are sort of straightforward decisions to make once we go down that route of actually allowing ourselves to tackle sentimental items. Just some things that maybe the light bulb might go on. And then after the break, we're going to talk more about practical things that you can do to make sure that you enjoy your sentimental items, which is what this is all about. So first of all, we wanted to talk about memories. And a big one is, whose memories are they?
Yes. We see it all the time, don't we, Leslie? An item is like, oh, it's so special. I'm keeping it for my son, like their first drawing, the first drawing they made. Or, oh, these are his first pairs of shoes that he's worn. And you're saving it for your children. And the children are going, well, I don't want all that stuff. That's not mine. I can't remember a thing. Why would I want to keep a drawing of my hand when I was 3 years old? So I think it's really important to realize in that moment, actually, wow, I've been saving all of this stuff for them, but actually, it's not their memories, it's my memories. They're special to me. And actually, I'm the one who needs to make the decision. And if you feel like they're just going to throw everything away, you feel like you might go a bit into rescue mode. And you're like, no, give it all to me, give it all to me. But there is so much of, you can have a finite amount of good stuff. You don't have to keep everything.
Right, so let's talk about that handprint. Let's take it back to basics and go, right, okay. If you've got children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, the handprint or the footprint picture is like a rite of passage almost, isn't it? At some point, you're going to have a handprint picture. So do you think that, my kids are now 28, 25, 21, is a handprint picture really special?
I think for them it's not, but for us it is.
Do you think that it is? But do you
Yeah.
think that it is?
Yeah, one, but not like 25. And I think that's the problem, isn't it? We're like, because we've kept things over the years and the mountains just grow in the cupboards in little boxes tucked away. But when you pull it all out, I think one is special, not everything.
But you see, for me, I look at that and I go, right, okay. If I then find a handprint of my kids
Mm-hmm.
in a box
Yeah.
that's lain there for 27 years or
Yeah.
24 years or 20 years, is it really giving me what I want? If that had been on the wall, if I
Mm-hmm.
had, here's the three of their handprints together at a snapshot in time that I'd been looking at and enjoying for the last 20 odd years, I think
Mm-hmm.
that would continue to give me joy. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact that it gets put into a box, when I pull that out of the box, I've got more important, more, real memories,
Yeah.
pertinent memories than a handprint that they did probably when I wasn't there
Mm-hmm.
at nursery or something or school or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And it's just been in a box, crumpled up with loads of other stuff.
You're going all hardcore on me here, Leslie. What's going? I'll let you. I cannot just have one handprint. I mean, there are people who like keep all the scribbles, and I'm like, what's this? We don't even know, for me, gone. That's gone. Why would I keep all scribbly things? This was their first scribble. This was their first scribble in their year, blah blah blah. This was their first scribble in nursery. It's just a couple of scratches on a piece of paper. That's for me. So there you see, maybe we all have our different sentimental values and things that we find important. So maybe for me, I don't like you that I have to get rid of my handprint.
No. I think the point that I'm trying to make is not that you have to get rid of it. The point is absolutely not. If people want to keep every scribble that they've had and by the way, it does develop on from a scribble, Ingrid. The scribble is the first one, which is quite cute when they first pick up a pen and do something. But I think the point is we are sort of indoctrinated into thinking that we have to keep the first handprint because it's such an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we never challenge ourselves on that.
Mm-hmm.
We never go, do I really look at that and think that that's special? Do you know what I mean? I think like, one of my best friends in her toilet, in her downstairs toilet, she's got a kind of, it's not actually just, she's obviously done it in like a plaster cast.
Yeah.
3 feet, and she's got them side by side when they were first born. And every time I go into her downstairs loo when I'm around her house, it makes me smile. Now, that to me is what a memory should be, because that's like, oh, that's so cute. And that's the 3 girls. And you look at it, right? Yeah. But if it's been in a box and it's not been important for all of that time, why would it then become important at 20 when they're 27?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So I think that we have to do something with these special things, and a handprint or a footprint or whatever is definitely an example of that. But I think that we have to take a step out and go, but why? Is it just because we feel like we ought to? Or can we actually start to break this down a little bit?
So first of all, you're saying determine whose memory it is. Whether it's your child, your mom's, your family, your aunt, your best friend, whoever it is. But then actually really ask yourself, once you've determined, oh, it's actually my memory, it's not anybody else's. Or your kids have said, don't even give me all this stuff. I don't want it. And it kind of keeps ending up with you. And you're like, actually, it is my memory. But then you kind of have to go, okay, but I have so much of it. And that's what we see, right, Leslie? We come into homes, so we hear it from our members of the membership that they say, but everything is sentimental. I can't declutter because when I think about my house, I think about all these sentimental items because our minds take us to the most difficult thing that we have to do. So we think about the crystal from our parents and the furniture and the handprints and the scribbles and the books that we read when we were young. And because, of course, when you have 3 or 4 generations, things get muddled, right? Because either through a bereavement or a downsizing, things come into our homes, our kids leave, but most of them can't go to big house at first, so they can't take their stuff immediately, so it kind of lingers on in your own house. And of course, the longer stuff stays, the more it's easy to think it's all sentimental. It's all sentimental. I can't get rid of anything. And so we're here to kind of challenge people to break open that thought process and have a conversation and go, but is it really all sentimental?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, because I think there are certain things that we just look at and think we can't possibly do that because we're doing a disservice to the person, whether that's our children. I mean, the only, as I look at those handprints, and am I going to get rid of my kids' handprint pictures? Probably not, right? Are they on the wall at the moment? No. Are they as special as other things that I've got? Not at all. But am I going to get rid of it? It's going to feel like a bit of a wrench to get rid of them. That's what, and if you've got multiple, then it's not quite so difficult. But I think it's about that challenge, and it's about letting go of the guilt, particularly if you are overwhelmed with this stuff. At the end of the day, if you've got one sentimental box with like 100 things in it from your entire life, fine. It's not causing you any problems. But if you're inundated with a loft or a garage full of boxes and boxes of boxes of things, that's when it's not enhancing your life anymore. You know what I mean? And so you've really got to take it down to the nitty gritty and go, this has got to be really special for me to keep it in my life.
Yeah.
And I think, you talked about there, Ingrid, as well. We talk about whose memory is it? And this is honestly, when we ever do sentimental teachings and challenges and all that, this is a huge light bulb. People are like, literally, I'm keeping things that I have no warm, fuzzy feeling inside of because they're not even my memories. I'm keeping photographs from my grandparents. I'm keeping letters from my grandparents. I don't even know who the people are and all of those things. And of course, there's a genealogy type situation going on with those kind of things and preservation and so on. So that's a different sort of matter. But you've really got to look at, you're never going to get that feeling back. I mean, the only thing, just talking about this, the handprint, I'm sorry to keep going on about the handprint situation, but the only thing that I can think of, because I've got, sadly, not all three of my children's shoes. Somehow one of them's gone awry, which is really, I don't know how, but it has, and that's life, isn't it? So I've got the two first pairs of shoes from Leah and Luke. Obviously, the third child got missing, standard stuff, like, you know what I mean? But I would think it would be lovely. I would love now to be able to frame those three first shoes, because that is cute, right? And they're all, I mean, Luke's are completely battered and Leah's are not as, it just encompasses them as children, right? I would love to have all three. But I think if they then have their own children, then I think it might be like, oh, here, by the way, here's your shoes from when you were, how old? They're like 10, 11 months, aren't they, when they start getting the first shoes, and so I think it potentially might bring something more as they go through that era themselves, but probably not. Do you know what I mean? Because they're less sentimental, I think, than we are as a generation. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's interesting. But challenge yourself, because I think we just get stuck in but I have to keep that. I have to keep that because I'm doing a disservice to the other person if not.
Yeah.
So yeah, handprints in the bin. No, joking.
Let me ask you something, Leslie. Do you think that some sentimental items are harder to do than others? So, for example, it's like, because I think a big one is like furniture or maybe paintings or something. Is that harder than a handprint or a scribble?
I think it's nothing to do with the item and everything to do with the sentiment attached to that item.
Yeah.
So I think everything can be difficult, but I think it's about what that represents as a moment in time and how vivid that memory is in your mind and how it takes you back to a place where you're kind of, I loved that moment so much and I need this physical representation of that in my life. That's what this is about. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we do need things to evoke memories. It's like when Facebook memories come up on your phone, like we forgot about that happening until it popped up. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that was such a lovely day. And then it takes you back, temporarily to a place. And that honestly is the reason why I actually post on Facebook latterly. I think I got kind of wrapped up along the stuff and I post very little now. But if it is a special day, family day, going out with friends, I will post it on Facebook just so that in 5 years' time that'll pop up on my memories and I can go back. Does that make sense? Because I won't scroll back through my phone very regularly. but I'll enjoy the memories as they pop up. And, having a physical representation of that, of a memory, is a similar kind of thing, that you need that item to take you back to that place to give you that vivid memory. And so
Yeah.
I understand they definitely serve a purpose, but you only need one. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, you only need one. So, children's paintings is a really a good example, because there's a passage of time and all that kind of stuff. We don't need everything. We really
Yeah.
need to look at the very special ones.
Yeah.
Is this quality over quantity scenario that's so important?
Yeah.
In answer to your question as well, I think where other people are involved in those memories, I think guilt is such a powerful emotion. And so where other people are involved in those emotions, then I think that adds a whole nother layer onto something that might make it more difficult. I think if you've lost someone, then that takes it up another 10 notches, because you're desperate to obviously cling on to that. And that's the only thing that you've got. You've got your memories, you've got the things from that person, and you can't interact with that person again. So that makes it difficult. But in general, I think it's all about the emotion that sits behind it rather than the thing itself.
Yeah. I need to have a breather from that, Leslie. Let me, I think all our listeners are going, oh, okay. So let's go for a break and let's talk then about some practical things that you can do with your sentimental and items. So see you soon. Well, everyone, welcome back. Well, during the break, I nearly had a break.
Yeah, during the break, Ingrid had a breakdown. So for anybody that doesn't know, Ingrid's just gone through quite an emotional journey, because her son Max has just left to go to university. And so it took her back a few weeks to the process of deciding what he was going to take with him. He's gone to Delft University in Holland. So not only has he gone off to university, he's gone abroad. It's not very far, but it's certainly, the sea is an additional barrier. That means you can't just jump in the car quite as readily if he was still in the UK. So this is obviously, that for anybody that's had a child go off to university, particularly your first one, what a huge wrench that is. And so because we were talking about that handprints and memories and things like that, Ingrid was like, oh, tell us, Ingrid.
I know. So basically, he went through his books and he was like, okay, I want to bring this with me. I'm going to, Mom, these are my sentimental ones. And these are like 3/5 of them can go. And I'm like, fine. And then he said, oh, and by the way, I think I don't think I really don't want to bring my Lego duvet set to the university room. That doesn't feel right. And he's loved it. He's been a massive Lego fan for all of his life. And I went, okay, that's fine. And it's been used, it's done. And then I thought, so I was tidying up the linen cupboard and I came across this duvet set that we bought when we visited the Efteling, which is like our favorite theme park in the Netherlands, in the whole wide world. The kids love it as well. And he bought a duvet set. He asked for a duvet set with a dragon on it. And I thought, oh yeah, he's too old for the dragon now as well. And I was like talking about these handprint things, and I was like in the break going, oh, I need to rescue the dragon from the donation station, Leslie. I can't let it go. I can't let it go. I'm nearly crying. For those of you who know me longer, I cry all the time, but yeah.
But I can't believe that you let that go. But that's an exact right. So that's an interesting one, right? Because what we were talking about right at the beginning of this podcast, we were talking about the fact that something represents a kind of moment in time. So often when we decide to assign something to a sentimental memory box or whatever, it's the feelings at that time are very high because it's something that you've just gone through. It's something that you were going through with Max, with him leaving and so on. But I'm surprised that you decided to donate, because I think that is something that will make you smile, because that's a long journey. We talk about handprint. That's just them going to nursery one day and putting a handprint on, right?
Yeah.
For effect.
Yeah.
The sense of, oh, that's cute, sort of thing. That's got a long history of it. So for me, I would go, okay, I don't want to keep a whole duvet set, but I will keep the pillowcase.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done, because that would be sufficient to give you what you needed. As long as the pillowcase is the thing that's got the dragon on it.
Yeah.
As well. You don't need the whole duvet, right? But you're never going to use the duvet again. And that's about splitting things down. We talk about that all the time. If you've got something that's bigger, that
Mm.
comes as part of a collection, you can keep one part of it, which will give
Yeah.
that memory. So if that's a dinner service that you grew up with as a child, you can keep one component of that. You don't need to keep the whole 92 set. So for you, you don't need to keep the sheet and the duvet and the pillowcase. You can just keep the pillowcase, which is smaller.
Mhm.
So why are you going? Look at her. She's still crying.
I know.
She's literally going to stop the podcast now and go and make sure it's not in the
Yeah.
bin bag outside, waiting for the charity people to come and collect it. It's like,
I think
I
I'm
made
gonna
a
have. I know.
mistake. I'm gonna come back.
I know. I think I'm gonna actually have to rescue the duvet as well, Leslie. And you know what? It's interesting because normally I'm really easy to let things go, but I think talking about this suddenly made me realize it was not only it was going to the Efteling with my mom and even my dad when he was still alive and my family and how much fun we had and it's so much deeper than just a duvet with a dragon on it. So I think
Absolutely.
I think what I'm gonna yeah, after
And
this
that's only,
podcast I'm gonna get it back.
and but I think as well, one of the things that we talk about all the time when we're on this podcast is we talk about the fact that you will make mistakes along the way on your
Yeah,
decluttering journey, and that you need to rationalize the fact that sometimes you do make mistakes and sometimes you can't get them back. So Ingrid has got the possibility at this moment in time, I hope,
yeah,
to pull the duvet back, you know what I mean, to keep it. And then in a few years' time, when her emotions have gone down a little
yeah,
bit, with Matt, she may feel differently, which was what we were talking about. This is a key pivotal moment. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? And so I think you've got to recognize that
yeah,
sometimes emotions are much more heightened. If your mum or dad has just passed away, there's no way that you're going to be ready to let go of all their stuff immediately because your emotions are so heightened. But
yeah,
the passage of time allows things to dissipate. Sometimes we want that, sometimes we don't, and you might make a different decision. So a
yeah.
lot of times when it's about sentimental items, we're talking about coming back to those further down the line and then looking at whether you still have that feeling today that you had at the moment that you decided to keep it.
I think
So
it's really true. I think it really shows how important it is to leave things later in your journey. I mean, I'm an organized person. I'm good at letting go of items, so I can immediately now identify this is something actually, no, I can take it back and I've got the place for it. But a lot of people, when you are looking at a whole house full of stuff, you need to start with your less sentimental items. You need to learn how to build up your decluttering muscle. You have to leave this until later in your journey so you feel more ready. And also, I think, Leslie, what we also want to say with everybody, you need to take your time when you do sentimental items and enjoy the process because hopefully a lot of your sentimental items will bring you joy.
absolutely. And I think that, yeah, so it's definitely we make no secret of the fact that we say leave sentimental items, gather them up along the way while you're doing your other, the sentimental items will be scattered around your home. But as you find them, make sure you leave them till much, much later, till your decluttering muscle is stronger. But equally don't do it in the same way that you do other rooms in your house. Obviously we're going through not speedily, but we're trying, there's some pace involved in that. But sentimental items projects, I did a big one. I hadn't done one for ages. I did mine in lockdown and it spanned months, to be able to enjoy that. And that was a time when I had the time, because there was nothing else going on, was there, to go through that process and to be able to really evaluate, fine tune it and enjoy it. And it's one of the memories of lockdown that's there, was actually going through my sentimental items and being able to reconnect with those things and being able to have the time to share those memories with other people, which is also really important.
Yeah.
So if you come across, so if Ingrid comes across the dragon duvet in 10 years' time, Max may forget about it, or there'll be many other things as a young sort of 20-odd-year-old that he'll forget about and will become less important. And it'd be nice for Ingrid to be able to share, or, you've got to realize how much you loved that duvet, that kind of scenario.
Mm.
So do share those memories. If you find letters, if you find cards from people, if you unearth photographs, send those things on the WhatsApp to people and go, do you remember this? A kind of old school Facebook memories kind of scenario, to be able to share these things with the people that you love.
Mm.
That's what this journey is all about. And everything leads to here. And that's why we want you to let go of all that kind of baggage that's holding you down to be able to get to the crux of what matters, which is your sentimental items and the memories that you have and the things that have made you tick throughout your life. But again, to sort of pare down till it is really, really, so you can really enjoy everything that's there.
It's interesting, Leslie, because this is my mom currently, so she downsized during lockdown from my family home to a lovely apartment. She's so happy there. And then of course she was kind of she went through a lot of her stuff. She brought the most important things to her. But one of the things that we do in our family really well, especially my mom, was scrapbooking and really putting all the photos and the receipts and the maps of all the trips that she made. And of course, my dad passed away last February. So we then had to kind of find a lot of the photos that we wanted to do. We wanted to do like a photo kind of slideshow at his funeral. And we went through all of the books, and I think it really made clear to my mom that there are so many fantastic photos, but there are also so many photos that meant something to her and my dad. And she loved always taking photographs of everything. So she rang me up a while back and said, right, made the decision. This is typically my mom, right? I've made the decision. I need to go through my photographs. And so then me and my sister are like, okay, mom, we know how you are. Don't go in like all guns blazing and like keep like 20. You do need to keep some pictures that, okay, yes, the lakes and the trees and I think she's seen every church in Europe. I tell you now, I mean, she's got pictures of every church, every altar, every organ, it's like, okay, those can go, but just don't go like going crazy and declutter everything.
English,
So
like,
she's
keep some
now,
pictures of me when I was 5 years old, Mum, please.
but also like over, I mean, as I said to her, I said, I want you to keep the pictures of you and dad and of you and and us. But yes, we don't need the views and the things because that doesn't say anything to us. And also from your family, we don't want you to get everything. Yes, we might not know these people, but I just don't want everything to be gone and only kind of start when we were born. You've had a whole life before that. And I find it fascinating. I love seeing the pictures from the 60s with my aunts with all of the hair like it's so fascinating. It's lovely. So, but she's doing that now. And I love that. And I'm glad that she is enjoying these moments as well.
I think it is about getting that balance right, Ingrid, as you say, because there are people who lack sentimentality and do get rid of everything, and then there are regrets further down the line. But that doesn't mean to say that you should keep everything for other people.
Yeah.
But I guess it means that you need to be mindful of other people in your family and how sentimentality or the passage of time or history or genealogy kind of is represented for other people. So do you know what? I think that, to sort of to close out, I mean, we've talked about a lot of things, including the dragon duvet, which Ingrid's like literally waiting to run downstairs at this moment in time. So I feel like we need to wrap this up. And so I think that it's important, first and foremost, to spend some time to go through your sentimental items at some point. Don't just leave them forever. Because, in the scenario that Ingrid mentioned there with her dad passing away, we don't want something like that where you've got a quick turnaround to get photographs and sentimental items together and memories for a funeral, for it to be a huge undertaking. These things need to be available, fairly organized. And so the importance of doing that is definitely there, and it kind of is one thing that's off your mind at a very, very difficult time that you can sit and you can enjoy. So many people, when they're preparing for funerals, love that process of going down memory lane and being able to enjoy them at a time when they've had that really significant loss. And so I think it's important to kind of have your ducks in a row a little bit then. But I think ultimately it's all about, understanding why you are keeping what you're keeping, understanding that all of the things should evoke that very happy memory inside. We've not even spoken about bad memories. We'll save that for another podcast, but in a nutshell, we don't think you should keep any. But I think the most important thing for me is enjoy the process of your sentimental items. Enjoy every minute. Doesn't mean to say it won't be an overwhelming process, because it probably will, but break it down so you can enjoy every single part of it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm doing it. It's staying. It's staying in my house.
You do realize the irony of you saying that your
I know.
mum gets rid of everything and you're then
I know.
the thing that you found like sob worthy you actually got rid of yesterday?
Oh, no, it's been really good. I really enjoyed this podcast. And I hope, listeners, that you enjoyed it too. And that you're thinking to yourself, actually, yes, I've got loads of memories here. But what brings me happiness? I need to start carving out time to do this process. I want to have a look back and kind of enjoy all this fun, fantastic, happy moments and see them again and make decisions what's staying and what's going, because I want to find the quality over the quantity. And maybe you've identified some items that you think, oh, they're actually not sentimental at all. By listening to Ingrid and Leslie, my mind went here or there, and I need to declutter some. I need to create some space here so I can enjoy the things that I do want to see and I want to display. So thank you for listening. And yes, we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.